Wait for that 5-second LinkedIn lag every time. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jim Gass, and welcome back to No Law Firm Left Behind. I am tongue twisted today. Here with me today is my co-host, Vinny Del Val. Vinny, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's great, man. I'll tell you what, I'm really excited for the show today because we've got Katie Lange of PROTEM Legal Services on today. Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Really, really good. We really appreciate you being here. And if you don't know who Katie is, if you've been under a rock, man, you're in for a treat today when you find out who she is. So, Katie, would you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes. I am the Director of Recruiting for PROTEM Legal Solutions. We are a regional and nationwide recruiting firm. We specialize in working with both law firms and in-house legal departments. We place anyone from a legal secretary up to lateral partner searches. We do work with law firms within their marketing, IT, and accounting departments, and we do the same with in-house.
Great. Well, we're really excited and we really appreciate having you here. Thanks for taking your time.
No problem. Happy to be here.
So, you know what? Let me kick this off and just throw it to you, Vinny. I think that you've got our first opener today.
Yes. So, I mean, it's interesting what you do. What does the employment landscape look like right now for the legal community?
It's unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this. I've been in professional recruiting. I'm going on my 15th year here in May, and it's just the pool of candidates. It's just very hard to find good talent right now. It's all based on relationships. This is my second time. When I first started in recruiting, I was working for a Fortune 500 firm in Chicago and went through the financial crisis. And right now it's I think even a bit at a larger level.
Let me kind of expand on that a little bit, if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about what you think is the problem with the shortage on candidates right now.
I think the problem right now is, I think the first thing that we saw when COVID first happened, I think some of these larger regional firms, everything was at a stop. And they furloughed people, and the business wasn't there. I think depending on the areas of law and what was going on with governments, I think people have found alternative careers. They I think candidates are demanding. I think with the change in working from home and hybrid roles, I think law firms, I think everybody's been flexible, but now that we're trying to get back to some normalcy, if you don't have that flexibility, then people have gone elsewhere. I think it's also a generational thing. With people who, have been paralegals or attorneys and, have done something a certain way for, let's say 20, 30 years, they're not going to make changes. So they have moved on.
How about that? We talked to a lot of people and no one's actually brought that up as like hey, they changed careers. They had to, right, to stay alive. So,
right.
But is there currently a hiring or a hiring increase or decrease in particular areas of law right now?
I think obviously, employment law has been very, very, very busy. We're seeing a lot of placements in corporate work. I think real estate, estate planning, and I think litigation is, starting to pick back up. I think with the courts, courts can, trying to, fill all the backlogs. That's been, litigation is trying to get back to some sort of normalcy.
Yeah. Are there particular positions that are just crazy in demand right now?
I would say a lot. Mostly, we're seeing a lot of corporate positions, a lot of real estate, and then I still think employment law has been still very, very busy.
Well, on corporate law is, what's the hiring trend in corporate right now? Is it up, down?
I would say within corporate law, it is, the hiring is up. I think people are, they are bringing more people in-house. I think, they are, because of the lack of candidates working at the law firms, you can't let, merger and acquisitions and things, lack. So I have, talked with some in-house counsel where, they are outsourcing and hiring on their own.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the demand is high. So really that brings the question is like, what's the inventory, or what's the availability for that qualified staff, right? And what's the outlook? Like, are we going to run out, or do we have enough people?
Usually people have a bench of candidates. There is no inventory. It's very tough. I think usually in our industry during the holidays, I always tell people usually kind of the first week of December through Martin Luther King, things are kind of quiet. And, in talking to my counterparts and, a lot of legal professional organizations that I'm part of, which is part of my referral network, it's non-existent.
Wow. Yeah. Does it look like it's going to get better or worse?
I think right now, I think as in-house roles and firms are willing to make changes to lure these candidates in, it will increase. But right now it's all based on connections and knowing the right people. Mm-hmm. There's just not benches of candidates anymore. It's just, people, the shelf life of candidates is very short.
So I see this as an incredible opportunity for you as a person that helps recruiting and finding careers, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm a lawyer at a firm, or if I am at corporate America, and I'm going through the regular rigors of posting to ZipRecruiter and, LinkedIn and so on and so forth, and I'm not having any success, you're saying the networking and the referral business is really the lead source for finding new staff. And that's what you do all the time in the various organizations. Tell us about some of what you do with these organizations and how you find people that are looking.
Well, I think, one thing that's very important to me in my role working for PROTEM is I am very involved in the legal community. Mm-hmm. So I have been involved in the Association of Legal Administrators, the Paralegals Association, and I've been mostly involved with the Kentucky Paralegal Association. I was the president during the pandemic, so I had. We really had to think outside the box and really partner with our colleagues, not just in our region, but we did partner, throughout the country. And we all, with technology, we were able to work through the issues and, help each other out during these times.
Yeah. And I can imagine if there are candidates out there searching, that these professionals are part of these organizations, that lawyers just don't have the time to go to all these meetings and network.
Right. And I was thinking, as we were discussing these questions, one funny story, I had not been with my board in person for probably about six or 8 months. So we decided just to have a social outing and went to lunch, and I was with all these directors of marketing and business development professionals. And that's the majority of the talk was they were doing administrative work for the attorneys because of the lack of staff and hard, finding good people to work for the firms. So they said, Katie, we need your help. We need your help.
Yeah. Yeah. What are
well, actually, hold on, Vinny. Hold on. I love this one. Katie, what do you say right here? So, Katie Clabber-Williams, thanks for comment. I'm an experienced paralegal, she says, and I'm not able to find a job. What do you recommend for something like that? Obviously, connect up with you,
right?
But,
Well, I think it's if you're a paralegal looking for a job, I think get familiar with bar associations. Get familiar with paralegal associations. Association of Legal Administrators. There's a lot of networking groups on LinkedIn, on, even on Facebook, people have groups, talk to colleagues that you have worked with in the past, because it's a lot of placements are through word of mouth.
Your thing, get out there. If you're not doing it, network.
Yes.
Network. Yep. Yeah. Getting involved with those associations is definitely important for the job seekers, right? For those folks that are looking for jobs. What about? Is it the same for the employers themselves, who are looking to not only attract new players or keep their A players?
Well,
what are the big 3 things that employers should do?
Well, I think employers, you want to, you have an A law firm, you want to attract A employees. You need to find people that have, the dedication and the experience, to work with the attorneys, because the attorneys are, without the lack of support staff, they're wearing many, they're doing many more tasks than they have done in the past. So, you want to attract those A players, and you want to keep them on board. And you need to, I think from an employee perspective, I think, the hiring managers also need to, keep that network always going. Talk to their counterparts. And I think during the pandemic, I think everybody, was afraid to talk, against a competing law firm. But, you don't have to say what you're doing, but it's nice to, I think everyone's on the same playing field.
So leading into that, right? Networking is obviously one of the big things you say. With the pandemic, that was very limited. To like websites and virtual conferences. Has that changed yet at all, or is it still somewhat limited for folks?
I would say that, I think we are starting to do some in-person events. During the holidays, I did go to a few networking events. It was not near of what it was, but I think, with technology, create monthly meetings, talk to people. And that's where you'll get, ideas on what works for one firm can work for another firm.
Okay.
What about the resume for a job seeker, right? Or do you see some just great things about resumes that everyone should do and they're not doing enough of?
I think as far as your resume, I think you need to be very specific. I've worked with candidates where maybe they've got over 20 years of experience. If you're applying to a particular position, you need to have your resume, make sure it's very tailored to that very specific position. Take a look at the job description. Don't, maybe talk to another, colleague that you've worked with, and make sure that, you're hitting every mark of the job description. Because I think when you're working with employers, they get so many applications, they look at your resume for, less than 30 seconds. So you have to have those key words that are specific to whatever position you're applying to.
In a way, you really customize a resume for each application that you put in.
Exactly. And that's part of the process, of working with PROTEM. This is what we do for a living. So it's very easy. We have a team of of my colleagues, a lawyer and a paralegal who work directly with us. And you just have to have that perfected.
My kids come home with rubrics from school that tell them how to do what is required in an assignment, right? I mean, isn't that pretty much what a job ad is a rubric? And make sure you're hitting each one of them in priority.
Right, exactly. And I think, everybody's always, you're busy working at your job. And I think, you really need to take the time, people, I think during the pandemic, you have to calendar block, because you're trying to work from home and raise your kids and homeschool. And, it's just, it's a job to find a job. So.
Yeah. On the other end of that, right, there's also the job description and the job posting, right? I've seen some terrible ones out there. Is one of the things you do to help law firms get those ads and those postings right?
Yes. There's definitely, there's an art and science of the wording and how you post things to lure people away.
If I'm a job seeker, okay, and so let's talk about the employer side here. If I'm a job seeker, and we all know that I'm in the control right now because there's low inventory, so I could really take my pick of so many different jobs. I had dinner with Mike Brown from Thompson Reuters Fine Law, right? Who is just a brilliant man. We talked about you, Katie.
Oh, yeah, good friend of mine, great guy.
Great guy. We've both known him for so long. And so one of the things we talked about, him and I, is what about the online presence of that employer? If I'm being picky as a staffer, am I looking at their online presence and making an evaluation? Do I want to work there or not? What are some of the important things from that perspective for the employer to make sure they've got?
Yeah, I think with employer, I think, that's, I think part of working in the legal marketing field, being on the board with them, I hear, it's that first impression, you want to make sure that you are looking at all candidates. You want to make sure that you're hitting everything that's going on in today's world with diversity and inclusion and, I think a work-life balance, and I think that's the biggest thing post-pandemic. That's the first thing when I talk to candidates and give them a potential opportunity, is what's the flexibility? That's pretty much the first question that I get. So I think when I talk to employers, I've talked to clients. Those are things that post-pandemic that I need to know when I'm trying to mirror and match the candidate, because if, they have the upper hand right now. So you've got to have, have a way to have that, that 30-second or minute speech to lure them to work at your firm.
I got to tell you, if I'm a job seeker, fortunately I'm not, knock on some wood here. If I'm a job seeker and I'm going to look for jobs, and I'm landing on this firm's website and this firm's website, and this one is outdated, not very focused on the firm, versus this one, you can tell it's very nice, and it doesn't matter what size firm you are. It doesn't take much to have an attractive online presence. Do they have a LinkedIn profile? The managing partner, what's their profile look like on LinkedIn? Do they have a Facebook, or those are important things, don't you think, Katie?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's also the reputation of you have an online presence, but, the legal community, you think it's such a large community, but as Jim and I know, we've been in the industry, we know vendors, we know firms, we know partners, and, you want to make sure that that you're always having a positive presence.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Vinny's been in that same industry for a really long time. So, Vinny, can I, we've got a few questions. I want to take this last one if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wow. This is a loaded question. Salaries. Maybe you could kind of give a range, if you don't mind, Katie, on what a paralegal salary would be at a particular type of firm. Maybe you can mention that like 3-4 years ago, and what you could see it at right now, the ranges. Can you kind of, I don't want to put too much on the spot, but if you can.
Sure. No, there's definitely been many changes. I think, you have to look at it from, kind of a Midwest, a perspective of what city you're working in the Midwest. But we've also, we also work with clients in large markets. So I think you first have to look at the market and where the firm is based. But as far as legal assistants, paralegals, it could have been anywhere, I'd say between 35 and maybe 50, pre-pandemic. But now it's, the candidates are dictating a lot of the salaries.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
like I said, I don't want to put you too much in a spot. Is it the same for lawyers? Is it the same, for associates, junior associates, and so on and so forth?
I think, you really have to lure those candidates in. We definitely have seen an uptick in salaries, I think for first year associates, I think to keep laterals. I think there's been, different types of incentives to either lure people or keep people at the firm to stay there.
I know that there's been a number of paralegal schools that have been closing up or going all virtual, which isn't as attractive to everyone. Some people it's more attractive.
Right.
How is the educational opportunities for paralegals affecting the inventory?
Like I said, yeah, with not as many people in the market, I think as I've talked with clients, you have to think outside of the box. You can get a recent, graduate from college and, or maybe someone who's making a transition. And if they have the work ethic and, you feel like it's, a good chemistry, there are potential clients that are, that are thinking outside the box and hiring people,
Mm-hmm.
because the work has to get done, and people are trainable.
That's the key, right, Vinny? And we found that in our own industries that we're not hiring the most experienced people anymore. We're hiring for the culture. Do you find firms hiring for culture, or are they hiring for experience? What do you find is one of the
I think culture is very important in the hiring process. That's one of the first questions that I ask when I'm working with potential candidates, or sometimes I'll get a referral. Some people enjoy working for larger firms, regional firms, national, global firms, and then other people enjoy working for those firms that have less than 20 attorneys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, Katie, this has been great. Fantastic information. You have given so many people so much information now. The one question I have, the final question, is if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can reach out to you, whether it's an employer or a candidate?
The best way to reach me is I'm on LinkedIn. I can give out my personal contact information, and I'm always happy to I said it never hurts to have a conversation.
Yeah.
One thing I always like to tell my clients or potential clients, I think, and especially in this day and age, you have to know what's going on in the market, because that you have to be educated. And I think with my many phone calls and my many connections, I do have top of mind, what's going on.
I have to say, as we prepared for this show, I looked over your LinkedIn posts over the last 6 months, and it's, hey, I got this position available over here, this position over here. Who's got somebody that they can recommend for this position? So what I'm going to say to close this show, if you're a lawyer, paralegal, legal administrator, anything I'm missing here, Katie, because I want to make sure that I'm not.
Anything within IT, accounting.
Accounting, bookkeeping. So if you're looking for get exposure and experience in law firms or corporate legal, for that matter, talk to this girl right here. Check her out on LinkedIn. Katie, thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah,
Thanks
just sit tight with us, Katie. We'll go post show with you. And Vinny, thanks again.
Thanks. Good being here.
All right. Talk to you in a minute, everyone. Sit tight, Katie.
Okay.
See you next week.